Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Time to Play Say What You Want to Say, Empower Half Hour. My name is Stacy. I am a certified teacher in special ed, in literacy in elementary, and a CASAC-t. And joining me this evening will be Erica Switzerland O'Reilly. Erica is a 22-year-old woman who grew up on Long Island, and she's a prime example of a person who experienced difficulties in her youth and is not only empowered to enjoy life, but interested in spreading awareness and empowerment to others. So we share those passions. I'm a woman in my 50s and just rediscovering the second joy of what life has to offer. And each week during our podcast, we'll discuss good news stories, stories of hope, stories of success, and stories of empowerment. And we encourage everyone to call in and participate. Our call-in number is 646-200-0848. You can join in the discussion or just listen at any time during the podcast. And Empower Half Hour is made possible by the Time to Play Foundation, Incorporated, a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation with the mission and purpose to enrich the lives of others through our programs, our public awareness, outreach activities, events, and learning opportunities that further the concept of enjoying life. So we welcome you again to join in and join the conversation at any time. And I think Erica just joined in. Is that you, Erica?
Yeah, Stacy, how are you today?
Hi. Good. You sound tired.
I'm exhausted.
Well, let's wake up for a half hour and talk about our ego versus our spirit.
Okay.
All right. So I have been reading a little bit more than I usually do on a topic. And one of my favorite self-development gurus is Dr. Wayne Dyer. So I love the way he reflects the ego and the spirit, which is actually our soul. He says that when he himself was living in his ego, letting his ego dominate his life, he had an attitude like, what's in it for me? What am I getting out of this situation? And when he's has acted in his soul and his spirit, it's more like, how can I serve you? What can I do for others? What can I do to serve others? And I really related to him the strongest. Dr. Dyer passed away 2 months ago, but he really had, I really feel like he spoke from his soul, and he has such an authentic lifestyle, which is why I usually bring him into a lot of our conversations. So I thought that was a good way to introduce a general perspective on the ego and the spirit. And right now in my life, I'm going through yet another change of just realizing more about myself. And self-awareness is such an important component in living an authentic life and living more in our spirit than our ego. So I'll be glad to share some of my experiences, but I wanted to know, how you were a few decades apart. What is your perspective on the ego versus the spirit?
Well, I definitely agree with what you were just talking about, how with the ego, it's what can I do for myself to benefit me with strings attached. A lot of people sometimes don't live consciously enough that even though they do good deeds or they help people out or things like that, their ego is still running their life, that those good deeds are being powered by what the result is that they're expecting and what they can get out of it to benefit themselves, while the spirit is the complete opposite. You're not thinking about anything that could possibly be an outcome of this. You're just doing it because in your heart and in your morals and in your principles, you know it's right to do.
Right. So would you say that you live more in your ego or more in your spirit at this stage in your life?
I would say I live more in my spirit, even though my ego does still take over once in a while, whether it be because I want people to like me or something like that. That does come back. But when I live consciously in my life, I live by my spirit and not by the ego. And when that happens, a lot more is looked at as when I'm not expecting for good outcomes and things do happen, it makes them that much better.
Right. I see what you're saying. And when we're in our ego, it's like a social mask. It's a face that we put on for the world. And our ego could be our titles, our roles like girlfriend, daughter, brother, sister, friend. It's something that we have to live with, but we don't have to listen to it. We can actually spot our ego. When our ego's in charge, like you said, we're not always living consciously. So, some examples of that, I know from my experience as a CASAC and from my personal experiences, I know that, when people are using substance, they can be convoluted and not aware of what's going on around them. So like you said, not living in conscious and just enveloped by this ego and the material and the external world. And when we're in our ego, we're consumed by our emotions a lot of times. That committee in our head is focused, on all of our fears and our doubts and anxieties. We're very critical of ourselves. And usually, we'll have like the same reoccurring thought. But when we're living more in our spirit, I know that, feelings have more of like an intuition. I know for me, I have this inner voice that almost guides me, and I love and accept myself so much more. And
right.
The desires, yeah. I mean, I don't know. You want to describe how you feel when you did a little bit, but do you want to expand on that?
I guess the most I can say about it is, for me, when I live through my spirit, I don't try and predict my outcome or how some people say future trip. I just live in that moment. I stay conscious with myself. And when I do that, it becomes a lot more satisfying with the actions that I choose. And the outcome isn't what I expect, or isn't something that was in my expectations, because there were none.
So you sound like you wind up with more gratitude.
Absolutely.
And I know that's so nourishing for our soul. I had said to you earlier in the week when we realized that this was going to be our topic this week, I was like, I can't even believe this, because last Friday night, and, it's more about the journey than the destination for me and for all of us, really. So I'm always looking into new things that reflect things that are going in my life. And I really wanted to take a deeper look inside. And just last Friday night, I went to an Anra healing. And I've looked at this on Pathways to Health in Mount Sinai for a long time. And I wasn't ready. I don't feel like I was ready. And Friday night I went. So it was really great. It was, there was an energy circle. And everybody in the room, there was like 30 people, just held hands. And we were just trying to channel our unconditional love in this energy circle. And seriously, my eyes were closed and tears just started pouring out of them. And I'm thinking to myself, am I the only one this is happening to? Can anyone see me? I don't know. But I really didn't even care. But I was just thinking of that, but comfortable at the same time. And then we took this guided meditation, a fall setting with leaves, and each colored leaf represented something and how we let it go down the stream. Very intense. And then we were paired with these healers. And we were told that Honor Healing is basically attaching Mother Earth to the unconditional love inside us so the Anra healing felt like Reiki, this wonderful woman, this gentle, like Reiki touching to me, and she actually folded my two hands over my heart, and she said that she felt compelled to do that, to let me know that, it's okay, I love myself. And, she spent a lot of time with my root chakra. And I think the reason why I thought that this week is, my values are very different from my husband's at this time. And I think I've experienced codependency in my marriage for many years, and I've been exploring that and overcoming a lot of setbacks. And this Honor Healing just brought like so much of this to the surface. And what she said to me after, I just related to what I've been experiencing in my life, and it's okay to have my own values, and it's okay to be my authentic self, and like, I don't even need the validation. I just, I am starting to feel like a lot of changes. And, when you feel more intuitive, and, I do feel more passion inside of me of the things that mean a lot to me. So I feel this change occurring just this week. And I'm also doing the Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey, You Are Your Beliefs, 21-day meditation. So I switched that up a little bit. But I'm just relating this shift a little bit. So I just wanted to share that.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
No,
that's
so great, the Reiki, and like being able to feel that, and how you were able to open up your mind, and instead of letting that mental wall or that block that we all suffer from when we try and get to our innermost fears or feelings, whether they're good or bad, be able to have that ability to break through that wall and get past the ego and be able to feel as deeply as you were able to feel.
Yeah, and you know what? We all have that opportunity. We all have that opportunity. Our spirit, is eternal. It's always present, like even when we don't pay attention to it. So, how could we build a better relationship, with our spirit and our soul? Let's talk about some of the proactive things that we do every week that I'm sharing with you, and I have read some common denominators with some of, the things that we could channel in our life to make that shift. So is there anything that you would like to suggest or that you've experienced that allows you to get more in touch with your spirit inside?
Well, one thing that I personally like doing, because as busy as life gets, some of us, we're not able to go to any special classes or to be able to have someone be able to help us or instruct us, whether life is busy or whether it's funds or family gets in the way of something like that. So for me, seeing how, like, right now my life is very busy, and between, like, work and relationships and friends and all that other stuff, because I'm just, I guess that maybe it's just I'm young and I'm experiencing all these new things that I've never seen before. For me, one of the things to get in touch with my spiritual side and to be able to release myself from my ego is just every morning when I wake up, the first thing that I force to pop into my head is, today is going to be a good day. And just from doing that and saying that no matter what happens, good or bad, it's going to still be a good day, and I got this. For the most part, it's almost like it's rewiring my brain to really understand and believe that, and it helps me get through those rough patches that with an ego there would make you get upset or feelings hurt or angry, whatever the case may be. Those negative, icky feelings aren't there because your ego's not getting in the way to be bruised and to feel like you're inadequate at work, or you didn't do something right with people, or even if it's just you're practicing a hobby that you really like and it didn't go the way you wanted it to. When you tell yourself that it's going to be a good day no matter what, it releases a lot of that tension and anxiety of failure or maybe even success.
So you set a positive intention. That's beautiful, and you really channel it, and I love that. That's kind of like when I wake up, I look at this calendar that I have from Louise Hay, which has positive affirmation every day. Sometimes I just giggle because it aligns with, like, my life that day more so than it doesn't, and it's positive. So I reflect on that. Sometimes I'll say it to myself a few times, just the same way that you're saying. And the next thing I'll do is I'll look for a positive post, because on our Time to Play social media on Facebook, we've grown from 200 to about 1,000 people that post positivity every day. So I'll look for, my positive inspiration for the day and share it on there. And then I know other ways to build a better relationship with your soul, is stillness. And I appreciate what you said about the hustle and bustle and being young and learning new things. And, we're all lifelong learners. Like, I'm still learning new things, and I relate to you, the hustle and bustle. But if we could just really find some quiet time, this meditation, Erica, I can't even explain to you. It's like I really feel like, prayer is when you ask, and meditation is when you listen. And, like, I'm getting messages. And, like, my husband will think that it's so hokey, and people will just not understand until they're open and they experience this themselves. Meditation is helping me so much, giving me answers to my own questions and giving me direction, to channel my purpose, my true dharma, my creativity. I'm getting messages. I feel like I need to get back into the classroom. I feel like, and I took steps to do that, today. So I'm very excited. And I feel like just so many different things that I need to do with writing and creating. So I'm excited. And you know what? Even like a teaspoon worth of like love, wisdom, or courage, that comes from our soul is 1,000 times more powerful than a negative message from the ego.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. And, we just have to, like, learn to listen to our spirit when it talks to us, and trust it and act on the advice that it gives us. And this isn't the first time that it's happened to me, but I feel like lately, like, a lot of weird things are happening. Like, I called a girlfriend the other day. She was like, get out. I'm like, what? She's like, no, you don't understand. I'm flipping pancakes. And I was just thinking, I got to call Stacy. And I giggled. Okay, no big deal. But then I have this favorite aunt that lives in California, and I'll dream about her maybe once or twice a year that I can remember in the morning. And I have this dream about her, and then I wake up and there's a text from her. I was just like, whoa, and a lot of different things this week are just happening like that, because I think I've been trying to channel, my spirit more so this week. And I didn't even know this was the topic that we were going to discuss. So funny. It's just, I don't believe there's any coincidences, and I don't know. I want to share the definition of authenticity, and this was 13 years ago by psychologists Brian Goldman and Michael Kernis. It says the unimpeded operation of one's true or core self in one's daily enterprise. And in this article that I was reading, it says that authenticity requires self-knowledge and self-awareness, and that authentic people accept their strengths and their weaknesses. So for example, a woman would embrace her curves, and people that are authentic are accountable because they're basically transparent. And I would say I'm on my road there, that I'm not totally that person yet because I've been codependent for so long, honestly. But, you know, I am starting to connect to my values, my own values, and my own desires. And after 27 years in this relationship and marriage, you know, I just feel like I'm being, you know, free in my own skin. And it's very liberating, but it's been a lot of work, I want to tell you, you know. But being, you know, authentic is just being genuine and real, and it allows us to connect deeply with others because it requires us, like I said, to be transparent and also vulnerable. Like you set the intention in the morning to have a great day. You know, authenticity starts when we set the intention to be genuine. And genuine peace. Go ahead, honey. I'm speaking a lot. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything. I was loving what you were saying, actually, because it's so true. If you don't actually stay honest with yourself, with your intentions, there's no way to defeat your ego. The first step is to really get down to the nitty-gritty within yourself on why you would want to do something, if you're doing it just for you or if you're doing it for the benefit of what could happen for you or if you're doing it just for another person. I mean, and even if we're not talking about just doing good deeds by other people, a big thing that was a very big flag on me starting to change and releasing myself from the ego was dancing in public. Before, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't move. I wouldn't dance. And as much as I wanted to, I refused to do it because my ego, it was almost like I was in a prison where I would want to do it, but I wouldn't because I was so scared about what everyone else would have thought. I was so scared about what I would look like. I was scared about my image. I was scared about how people perceived me. I was scared about making a mistake or messing up because of my ego. When I finally really got through and was like, I don't care, I can literally dance like an idiot and do the robot, and I don't care, and I have fun because I stopped caring about what I felt was right for my, like, instead of it being like, so hard to explain because when you're spiritual,
dance is like a free spirit, creative art, you know, inner child. And it sounds like you just shifted, and when you allowed your spirit to take over, your body just moved in a natural way, and you probably really got into some soulful dancing. And that's beautiful. I mean, allowing the ego to become your identity can prevent you from knowing it yourself, you know?
Right.
Like, and doing the things that you love to do. And
there was another thing that I read once, and it was this article about relationships actually, and it was called "I Never Would Have Thought That the person that was totally wrong for me would actually be the right person for me," and it was this wonderful article. I can't remember who posted it or what the author was, but basically it was describing on how our ego will actually rip you off of some of the best experiences with some of the best people because they don't have the right looks that you deserve, or they're not as tall as you want, or they don't fit your standards. But if you think about it, those standards on outside appearances or a job or a house or anything like that is all rooted from our ego, whether it be an ego that was formed because of society's standards or an ego that was formed from environmental or whatever the case is. Those things actually jeopardize us from meeting some of the most amazing people, whether it's an intimate relationship, a friendship, like from having these egos and having this, I deserve better than that or I deserve better than this, we miss out on the best people. Like my boyfriend that I have right now, when I first met him, my ego was in the way and it was, oh, well, he's shorter than me and he's younger than me and he's this and he's that. When I finally got to know him, though, after being friends with him for a little bit, I realized who cares if he's short, who cares if he's younger than me, because of how he treats me. And that was only as his friend.
Right. and you probably channeled self-respect and your spirit to let that overcome your ego. I mean, would you say?
Right.
Yeah. You can definitely gyp yourself out of life completely. I mean, unfortunately, not everybody's able to, be this type of authentic person, but it's so rewarding. I mean, authentic people are definitely, happier people. They're more resilient, and they're less likely to turn to self-destructive behavior. They tend to be purposeful in their choices, and they're more likely to follow through, with their goals because they believe in themselves. And, it's a great point that you are making with relationships, and I, too, can pay too much attention to just trivial things, the outside appearance, asking my husband to change his shirt or the way, focusing more attention on the way he looks and saying you used to dress like this and now you dress like that, and that's not really what matters, to have a nice evening out. And it could set, a negative vibe before we leave. So I'm guilty of that, But if you could learn from it and shift gears next time, then it's rewarding. Wayne Dyer he passed away, like I said, and he posted this movie on YouTube that he wanted as many people that was possible to read it in a short amount of time. It was one of his dying wishes. And I watched this movie, and it was amazing because it showed about 5 different people on their spiritual journey in the second half of their life, channel their purpose. And so, there was a guy that was all about business. He didn't want to take his wife on the business trip. He didn't care anything about him and the almighty dollar, and he was only writing a check for charity because he wanted to look good in front of his company. And by the end of the movie, he wanted to have this baby with his wife. They never wanted children before. He found just spirit through this nature, this setting in nature, and listening to Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer did this documentary with different people. This one mother had 3 kids, and she was feeling very uncomfortable because she wasn't channeling this artist that she was inside. And then she painted a picture based on the natural landscape there and how she channeled herself. But it showed the shift between all these different scenarios and people, and it was so beautiful. But I feel like there's different ways to channel authenticity, and I just want to talk about something great that Anthony Robbins, you know who he is, right? Motivational speaker, Tony Robbins. He does seminars, and he said one good way to get in touch with your authentic self is to fill in the blank in a sentence with a closed procedure. If you really knew me, you'd know this, blank. And, this is a prompt that he gave to his seminar participants. And not only does it prompt introspection, looking inside ourselves, allowing people to reveal different aspects of themselves, but it builds trust and credibility and confidence, with the person that you're sharing it with. So it's just an idea. And Robbins also says to notice, when you are being authentic, to notice when you're insincere in your speech or when you're acting in a way that doesn't align with your values. And, my son, I'm from Long Island, and sometimes I feel like I say coffee and this and that. When I'm talking to somebody, let's say it's the superintendent of the school district or it's somebody that I feel is so important, I think my voice changes a little bit more, and I, become more conscious of the way I'm talking. My son's like, that is so phony. That's not even you, Mom, So I think that's what Robbins means by the way you change your voice.
I would definitely agree with that, because my voice when I'm trying to talk to a business or I'm at work and I'm helping a customer or even in school, my voice gets a lot different than it would when even like than it is right now when I'm comfortable in the setting that I'm in, and I know I don't have to use that. Like for me, now it's more like I use it because it's what I need to do for work or for school. It's for me like the more proper professional side of me, versus when I'm comfortable, how I sound and how I act when I'm around in a casual setting or even this podcast. It's two different parts of me now, instead of being phony because I'm acting that way to possibly get someone to like me more.
Right. I was just trying to make an impression rather than speaking from your heart. And, I noticed a difference in myself when I speak from my heart and when, I am trying to be that person to impress somebody. So, I think we all do it at times. And it doesn't make us a bad person, just if we could become aware a little bit more, and sometimes we need to redefine our values. I definitely need to do that in my life. I mean, I had so much success in my 30s. I dated my boyfriend's restaurant. I helped him evolve from a bar and grill into this fancy, restaurant, fine dining, and we had incredible material success. And I was young. I was in my 30s, and it was pretty fast. And I didn't have the gratitude along the way that I should have. I did help create it. I had a lot of customer service. I treated people kindly. But at the same time, I did have that attitude, like Wayne Dyer said, what's in this for me? Like the house was so important. We got the house right away. I don't even want to, the list of material things that don't mean anything to me today. It was endless. And then embracing teaching later on in my life, in my 40s, was so much more gratifying because, you're servicing and you're giving and helping others. And it was just a different, rewarding feeling. And still with the work that we do with the foundation and just every day, the people in my life, I definitely am concerned with who I can help. And I do have that thought, like you have the thought in the morning, it's going to be a great day. I truly ask my higher power to bring somebody in my life that I could help, and I mean it. And that person appears almost every day, and and I giggle, and I don't know, I feel like right now I have a precedence of my spirit taking over from so many years of allowing this ego to dominate me. And I think I shared, I'm also reading this book, Outwitting the Devil, which is Napoleon Hill, which is also amazing, where the devil really is like the ego, And this interview with him is enlightening. So it's just self, development and curiosity of, just I have met so many amazing, fabulous people that are just so pure and spirited and inspire me. That's what I think inspired me to make some big changes in my life and follow this path that I'm on, and also not being comfortable with where I was at. So we all have the ability to explore and change and make a difference every day. I love yoga. I don't know that I would call myself a yogi. As a matter of fact, I think I'm a wannabe yogi because I think that hot yoga it's a discipline, but I think that there's other forms of yoga that could bring you deeper in touch with yourself, and I want to explore those. I don't think I'm a true yogi, staying with this one practice. I really think, and I have experienced Kundalini yoga, where we really channel our positivity and clear our chakras and let go of what we need to. And the closest I've ever felt to heaven on earth was in a Kundalini yoga class in South Florida with the aunt that I spoke about that I dreamed of, and one of my best friends in the whole world. And in that Kundalini yoga class, I felt like I was floating in heaven. I can't explain it. But, these are just things, the things that make us feel good, and we need to delve into them more and learn more about them. And then it's like the joy is in the journey. You know, that's really what it amounts to. The joy is really in the journey. Life gets so exciting. So I would like to share a couple of books, which I always do, that if you're more curious about the topic, you can delve into. One is a quote that we might be familiar with. Be Yourself, Everyone Else is Taken is actually a book written by Mike Robbins. There's another book called The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. There's another great book called Scary Close by Don Miller. There's a book called The Nesting Place by McQuillan Smith. And lastly, The Best Yes by Lissa Turquest. So if you're curious, you know, there's always reading you can do just by Googling your your curious thoughts. I do that frequently too. So how would you like to end tonight? You want to say one thing that we're definitely, grateful for?
That would definitely be a good idea, seeing how Thanksgiving's right around the corner.
Yeah, this is the season to be thankful.
Absolutely.
So, you want to go first?
Sure. Today I am grateful and thankful for being able to wake up and get ready without any ailments or health issues. And one of my most favorite things, as much as I'm not a morning person, is to be able to get up before the sunrise and watch that as I work in the morning.
Beautiful. And I'm grateful for the enlightenment to speak up for myself, where I used to keep things buried inside, especially in my marriage, that I can speak what my real feelings are and not keep them inside anymore. And I just want to end on Shakespeare's quote that I love. I even have this on my Facebook as my favorite quote. And it's, to thine own self be true. So I hope everybody has a great journey just trying to find their true spirit. It's a work in progress, and it's something that we can share along the way. Next week we'll talk, Erica, but I won't be on the podcast. I have an event I have to go to, but Doreen will be here. And I will talk to you the following week, if not in between. So have an amazing week and get some rest and shine on.
All right. You have a wonderful night.
All right. You too, honey. Bye-bye.